As you're no doubt aware, the Michael Slager trial has ended in a hung jury. And in my opinion, you had one guy, the single holdout, that went into that trial with the idea that no matter what went down, what evidence he saw, he was not going to find this guy guilty of anything. So the DA has already indicated that they are going to retry this, and hopefully they'll be able to get 12 jurors that can look at the evidence and come to a unanimous conclusion. Now, just so that you're aware, the foreman on the jury was the only black person on that jury, and he was trying like hell to get that single juror to come around. But again, that juror had an agenda, and his agenda was not to convict that man of anything. Here is the clip from the Roland Martin show.
Court therefore must declare a mistrial in this case, and I so declare that this case is mistried.
Stunning words from South Carolina Circuit Court Judge Clifton Newman, who had to call for a mistrial after one juror simply said they could not convict former North Charleston, South Carolina police officer Michael Slager in the death of Walter Scott. This was a murder that was captured on cell phone video by a passerby. Many people said it was no doubt that this would be the one officer who would go to prison for murdering an unarmed black man, but that simply was not the case. Jurors deadlocked 11-1 on Friday. They sent a note to the judge saying they were deadlocked. They then recessed for the weekend, hopeful that they could sleep on it, and then resume jury deliberation on Monday, but that was not the case. 23 hours the jury deliberated before they simply were deadlocked. It was a jury made up of 11 whites, 1 African American. They struggled to reach a unanimous verdict on whether Slager was guilty of murder or the lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter in the April 2015 shooting death of 50-year-old Walter Scott. But again, after deliberations, they simply told the judge they could not come to a resolution.
Mr. Foreman, members of the jury have received a note that says we as a jury regret to inform the court that despite the best efforts of all members, we are unable to come to a unanimous decision in the case of the state versus Michael Slager. Is that correct, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, the court therefore must declare a mistrial in this case, and I so declare that this case is mistried.
Now, after the mistrial, Scott's family spoke out about the developments in the court.
It didn't turn out the way we feel, but we feel like our voices need to be heard. And we need to let the nation know that we're not happy, but we're not sad, because we know that God got it. But we do believe in peaceful protests.
I trust God. I believe God. I am encouraged because I know God is able. He will get his just reward.
Now, folks, this is a statement from the DA with regards to that. My thoughts and prayers are with the Scott family. We are grateful for their patience, understanding, and cooperation with us. They have not received the credit they deserve in their calm leadership for the community. The Scotts have been a sterling example of dignity and grace in extraordinary circumstances. This is a very difficult time for them, but I have no doubt that they will continue to support our efforts to find justice for this case. I have no doubt that they will continue to show their faith in the criminal justice system. While I cannot overstate our disappointment that this case was not resolved, I commend those who sacrificed so much time, energy, and effort to serve on this jury. We will try Michael Slager again. We hope the federal and state courts will coordinate efforts regarding any future trial dates, but we stand ready whenever the court calls. As a lawyer and prosecutor, I am subject to special rules limiting my ability to make public comments about pending cases and defendants in criminal matters. For these reasons, my office cannot comment on the merits of the case. By law, the defendant remains presumed innocent unless and until he is proven guilty. That is the solicitor, Wilson, of course, who was the DA there. Joining us right now, folks, in the studio in D.C. is Paul Butler. Of course, he is a professor at Georgetown University Law School. Maynard Jackson also joins us, GOP strategist. Dr. Amos Jones-DeWeaver, leadership strategist and author of How Exceptional Black Women Lead. And also joining us there as well is, of course, first I want to go to you first, Paul. Also, we have Tiffany Lofton there, of course, also former USSA president and also an organizer as well. Paul, I want to start with you. Before I go to A. Scott Bolden. And Paul, first and foremost, you know, look, we've seen this before. We've seen deadlock juries take place before. But what do you make of this, where so many people said, my goodness, when you look at this video, you see Walter Scott running away, you see Slager firing at him as he's running away. He lied in his statement as well. Your thoughts?
As a prosecutor, I haven't seen a case against an officer with evidence this compelling. This should have been a slam dunk. I mean, the man was running away, shot in the back 5 times from 18 feet away, and the defense is self-defense? Give me a break. If a prosecutor can't get a conviction in a case like this, you wonder, when can a police officer who shoots an unarmed African American ever be brought to justice?
Yes, Scott Bolden, your thoughts again on this mistrial that we discussed it yesterday, but it is now formal.
Well, Paul is absolutely right, but all is not lost here. Unlike other hung juries, as we would say, this was an 11-to-1 vote. What was extraordinary was the amount of notes and the intensity of this jury looking at this case and essentially trying to convince the one holdout. This was a self-juror. This was a juror who got past the voir dire where you question the jurors about their independence and objectivity and what have you. There's nothing that this jury could have done or the judge could have done. Under South Carolina law, the judge can only order them back to deliberate once. After that, he can answer questions, and then either they come to a conclusion or not. I think one thing that the government is going to have to figure out is whether they are going to charge him with murder as well as manslaughter, or at least the court, argue against the court, giving the jury the option of manslaughter. Because the one important question that the jury asked during this deliberation was, what is the difference between passion and fear? Notwithstanding how nonsensical that the defense is, but they were struggling with passion versus fear, and quite frankly, you may want to go in and have an up or down vote if you can. That is, either it's murder or it's not, versus giving the middle. I've served on juries that prosecuted and defended lots of cases over 30 years, and I got to tell you, jurors like to compromise, even in the civil setting or the criminal setting. And so a lot, from a strategic standpoint, a lot to look at here. Also, you want the feds to wait, because the feds want the state to wait, because the state can get a conviction and then go after the federal civil rights charges.
All right, but the middle ground was manslaughter. And that one juror said he couldn't come up with a guilty decision on any of the charges. So, you know, as he stated, even if they wanted to find some kind of a middle ground, the middle ground was manslaughter. That guy came in with an agenda. He wasn't going to find him guilty of jaywalking.
Avis, when you look at this, when you examine what took place here, 11 white jurors, 1 African American. The jury was deadlocked 11-to-1, and it was a white juror who simply said they cannot find Slager guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but then also said they could not look the Scott family in the face, saying that Slager was innocent. I'm trying to understand what's going on.
Because they know that he's not innocent. I mean, that is patently true here. What we have, and I believe what was mentioned previously, is absolutely correct. You had someone on the jury who came in with his own agenda, who is not going to vote guilty for this policeman no matter what evidence was presented. And so unfortunately, the makeup of this jury predestined the outcome that we saw the other day.
This Maynard and Tiffany is an example of what folks say, again, justice delayed, justice denied, that even when you have this compelling video, this nation, jurors are still unable to find an officer guilty.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. I think it's hard because every time I've been on the show, we've talked about a case like this where we have not seen an officer get indicted. And over the last 3 years that I've been tracking this work, and our communities have been working in the field with police accountability, with quality policing reform, 99.8% of the time, there has not been an officer that has gone to trial or has been indicted. And I think that the distrust that we see right now within our criminal justice system is reflective also of what we saw in the election, and folks not feeling like this system, this country, care about people of color, care about black lives. This man has had 4 children who now are fatherless, and the article that we read this morning that was sent out said, you know, this juror didn't have a conscious decision or didn't feel like their conscience would allow them to vote in favor of making this officer guilty. You know, the problem that we have here again is that a man who has been murdered, we all see what's going on, and we all saw what happened in the video, still was not indicted. And so the question still remains, what does it take to indict an officer who murders a citizen when they are clearly wronged by the community?
Maynard?
Roland, I'm speechless in this matter. It seemed like to me this juror had said in his mind that I'm going to get my fellow white guy off the hook.
Absolutely.
It's no more complicated than that. This guy was not going to convict for murder regardless of what the evidence said.
Yeah, Roland, real Paul and Scott, how do you proceed? How do you proceed? Because some folks say that the prosecution has a strong case, but obviously you've already shown your hand. Paul, first, how do you proceed in a mistrial?
You proceed by worrying very much about Sessions as the next Attorney General, because the hope, really the only hope, is that there's a federal case now with different charges. There could still be a conviction and big time. The problem is that Sessions could withdraw the case. He could withdraw the prosecution. Now we have a president-elect who has said that Black Lives Matter should be investigated. We have Sessions who's been very hostile to any kind of racial claims by civil rights activists. So I have no confidence that this Attorney General, should he be confirmed, is going to continue this case.
Now he's wrong, obviously, because the state can turn around and refile the case and go after Slager. So he's wrong on that being the only hope.
Well, Roland, if I may, I agree with everything the panelists have said, but let's be real clear. This justice system of ours, it was 11-1. 99% of the people on that jury believed that the murder was that he should be convicted. The state can retry him, and the state is going to have to work with the feds. Even if the feds dismiss the case, and I certainly hope they don't, the state gets another bite at the apple. This is the justice system working, as imperfect as it may be. And so while we are frustrated, in this particular case, I'm encouraged that justice delayed is not justice denied, because I believe justice is coming. They've just got to pick a new jury and hopefully pick a jury that will listen to those 55 witnesses, the documentary evidence, and the videotape, and come with a quick decision. I think that retrial is coming because all of us need this justice to be done.
But Roland,
Angelo, go ahead.
Yeah, Roland, I worked on Jeff Sessions' first Senate race. Let me tell you something. You call Jeff Sessions a lot of things, but race is not one of them. And I think Jeff Sessions will be a good Attorney General. And you
okay, but hold on.
Okay, let me hold on. Nobody mentioned race, okay, as far as Jeff Sessions being a racist. And this guy just injected it. So I don't know where the hell he's coming from. Okay, but now that he's brought Jeff Sessions in here, yeah, Jeff Sessions has this demonstrated racist behavior. Now, you can't split their hairs and say you don't know if he's a racist, but he definitely has demonstrated racist behavior. And now this guy is coming out there and injecting race into the situation in defense of his boy. Bullshit.
Oh, well, hold on a second. First of all, who called him a racist?
Paul.
Well,
Okay, so
I I just think a person who says nice things about the Ku Klux Klan, who brings a voting rights case, a criminal case against a guy who's known as Mr. Registration, a guy who marched with Dr. King, a guy who called an African-American prosecutor who worked for him boy and said that he needed to learn how to work with white people. Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, but all those things have not been proven. That's hearsay evidence.
No, okay. The fact that he brought a voting rights case against the activist, that is an actual fact, and he lost that case. Now, as far as the statements regarding the black attorney who said that he called him boy, and that he said that he needed to learn his place amongst white people, that may or may not be true. Now, I believe it is true, but there is no absolute proof of those statements. So, he's wrong on the fact that there is demonstrated proof that this guy did go after black civil rights workers.
And Jeff Sessions, some of the things he confirmed, but other things he didn't.
A communist organization.
Well, that's not far from the truth.
And this is the man who's going to be in charge of police investigations. Oh my God.
So you said he cannot execute the duties of his job fairly?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's totally wrong. Disqualified himself. Oh, the answer is at the state court first. The answer is going to come, and the justice is going to come from the state court first. Look for the state court to argue that they should go first, and the Fed should delay until after a state court gets a chance to retry him.
Also, Maynard, don't think for a second I'm going to allow you to get away with saying it's not far from the truth that the NAACP is a communist organization. That is a shameful and despicable comment.
It's the truth.
Especially, yes it is. No, it is a shameful and despicable comment to suggest that the NAACP is not far from a communist organization. You can disagree with them on issues, but there's no way I'm going to allow any black man on a black network to say that kind of ridiculous comment about the NAACP. That Maynard is utterly Maynard. This is not up for debate. That is utterly ridiculous. It's
but if I'm trying to say Jeff Sessions is racist and get away with it.
First of all, here's the deal. No. First of all, I didn't call Jeff Sessions a racist. That's not what I did. And also, what I don't do is, the reason I don't use those terms, because what ends up happening is we get caught up in a debate as opposed to racist and non-racist, as opposed to what somebody actually said, what somebody actually did. So what I stick to are the actual issues, and that is the NAACP is not even a remotely communist organization, and then that's that crap that we heard in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, and the 60s, people that somehow try to bring them down. The fact of the matter is this here, we know they are an organization that has done a hell of a whole lot to secure your rights and that of others.
And a biracial organization.
No, not historically, because we're about to talk about that up next, because what we're about to discuss next on News One now, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory, who finally is conceding his gubernatorial race, and we saw him.
All right, so anyway, I want to know where that black Republican starts spewing the white supremacist line, okay, that the NAACP is a communist organization. That's why I just can't ride with these black Republicans for the most part. Some of them are reasonable. Maynard Jackson is a name that's been out there, since the year of the flood, and for him to come out like that, it just floors me.